This is Mike McMaster at the Wood County Museum. I am here today to record a new series of programs. I have worked at the Wood County Museum now going on 21 years. And over those years, just like Julie Andrews had a few of her favorite things, I have a few of my favorite things. And I've seen many things and I've researched many people and historic buildings. And my wife, there she is, lovely Dr. Anna, she said, "Oh, great. You are going to give a program on your favorite historic building or historic house or historic farm." And I said, "No, this is my favorite rock." And there's my wife, the lovely Dr. Anna, saying, "You are not going to do a program on your favorite rock, but I am going to do a program on my favorite rock." Now, before there was a Wood County, before there was an Ohio, before there was anything, this place was here. And many tens of thousands of years ago, where we are at, sat beneath a rather shallow prehistoric sea. And the little creatures that died at the bottom of that sea gave us a certain kind of rock in Wood County, the limestone. Even before oil was discovered in Wood County, that limestone gave us our roads, gave us our building stones. Limestone is what first made Wood County, but limestone is not my favorite rock. However, my favorite rock used to sit just outside of Hatton, which sits just outside of West Millgrove. That map is the 2003 county road map, and you can see Hatton, Ohio, Perry Township, just east of West Millgrove. Now, Hatton, Ohio sits on Signet Road, and in 1886 map that shows West Millgrove and Hatton at that time was Millgrove Station. Why was that town there? Because that railroad just missed West Millgrove, and it was part of the Toledo and Ohio Central Railroad. And you can see there is Hatton, just north of Fostoria and just south of Woodside in Wood County. Now, there's a 1912. It still shows the railroad going through Hatton, Ohio. And at this little town of Hatton, Ohio, sat the Hatton Railroad Station. Now, the Toledo and Ohio Central was in operation from 1885 to about 1952, although we might remember the New York Central rented out those lines, especially during the Great Depression, 1928 to 38. And you can see that Hatton Railroad Station. Now, Millgrove Station or Hatton Post Office in Perry Township had a lot of things going for it. It had the post office, a grain elevator, a steam sawmill, a general store, a railroad station, and it even had a little railroad spur to service that grain elevator. And I liked this next quote that I found, that Hatton was the railroad hamlet of Hatton. Hamlet, now called Hatton, had become a manufacturing suburb of West Millgrove. Perhaps Hatton was the first suburb in Wood County. There shows the old Toledo and Ohio Central Railway crossing what is today Signet Road. There's the general store. Now, Here is sort of the boring history of Hatton. This comes from perhaps Charles Evers in what we would refer to as the Beers Book, the historical record of Wood County in 1897. And Hatton was platted by William McCormick in 1880. He knew that railroad was coming through, and that William McCormick was the brother, I believe, of Cyrus McCormick, the inventor of the reaper. Now, the name was changed. Now, Evers states East Millgrove Station. I cannot find that anywhere other than Millgrove Station to Hatton. And who was Hatton? The Postmaster General in the year 1882. And it had a large elevator south of the depot, was built in 1881. A tile factory of Wood County was established nearby, and he goes on to state that the hamlet of Hatton is a suburb of West Millgrove. Now, the railroad depot along was moved at some point northwest from its location in the little town of Hatton off of Signet Road to Cherry City Road, where it kind of snakes across that creek. I have been told at winter time it was drug across the field, and it was placed at the edge of a field. And perhaps farmers wanted to use it for some reason. I don't know. It was never a house. There weren't houses really nearby as I remember it. Well, long years later, I had seen that railroad station along with my favorite rock, the Northwest Ohio Railroad Preservation Society in Findlay, Ohio. They need a historic railroad depot for their operation. And they bought the old Hatton Railroad Station. And in the background, you can see that little arrow is pointing to my favorite rock, which had preceded this railroad station. Now, remember, where this picture is taken is not along the railroad tracks of Hatton. This is where that station had been moved from. Now, the Northwest Ohio Railroad Preservation took that depot and they painted it up. You can see their little operation there. Many people enjoy. They have a good roof on it. They have good windows on it, good coat of paint. They have preserved the Hatton Station, although it is in Findlay, Ohio. Well, I called the Northwest Ohio Railroad Preservation and I asked them, I am looking for my favorite rock. Do you know what happened? I can't seem to find it on Cherry City Road. And they told me that they took the rock. And no, they took 3 rocks from the edge of that field, including my favorite rock. Now, there is my friend Larry. He is a member of the Northwest Ohio Railroad, and he took me to look at those 3 rocks. Now, what those pictures do not show is how absolutely miserably cold it was the day we took those pictures. But that first rock on the left, from the point to the point, is about 5 feet, perhaps 35 inches tall. That's where you enter, and where you exit the Northwest Ohio Railroad is that second rock. There's Larry standing. He's standing above it, but it is good 35 inches off the ground. It's a huge, huge boulder. But there is my favorite rock. It is sitting just below Larry Todd. Now, Larry Todd, as a unit of measure, is about 5 feet 7 plus, 5 feet 8 inches perhaps. And that rock is from that point to the next point is potato shaped. a little over 6 feet long. And it is a massive, massive stone. Now, that stone is not limestone. That is volcanic granite. And you can see where the lava created that igneous rock very far from where we're at. Now, those 3 rocks were ancient volcanic rocks from the Canadian Rocky Mountains. Well, how did they get here? During Ohio's ice ages, they were pushed and picked up and moved thousands of miles from Canada, perhaps as far as 2,000 miles from the Rocky Mountains in Canada to what is today Wood County. Now, these rocks have a name. They are called glacial erratics. And the Greek root of erratic is to wander. And these are definitely wandering boulders, wandering rocks. Now, we are familiar with the end moraines where the glaciers peaked and then receded, and those moraines are full of things that the glacier brought, glacial erratics, the ice-laid deposits in Wood County, and the ancient lakes also left us our sand ridges. Now, some of these glacial erratics, these volcanic boulders, could be quite large. That boulder was picked up and moved by the glaciers during the last ice age in Ohio, and sits near Sunbury, Ohio. It is 22 feet wide, 18 feet wide, well, 8 feet high or more, 72 feet in circumference. And that came from the Rocky Mountains' ancient volcanoes in what is today Canada, and wandered with the glacier to Sunbury. Now, these 3 stones are field stones. And I don't know why I have to say this, but a field stone is a stone that is unaltered form taken from a field. It is not quarried granite, quarried from beneath the ground, shaped and moved by people. This is an unaltered stone taken from a field. Now, you say to yourself, well, I can buy granite boulders. You can see that Pearl Mountain mica boulder I have circled at the end. Those boulders are big, but they are not 6 feet. Now, did people a long time ago take fieldstone and do things with them? Yes, that is the Wood County Museum. The man on the right is Frank Brandenbury, the superintendent. He used those fieldstones taken probably from all over Wood County and built that stone wall for decoration. Beautiful, still there. Those are fieldstones, stones taken out of a field by a farmer and generally left at the edge of the field. Now, how much does that weigh? Well, I looked online, and a 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot tall piece of granite is about 10,000 pounds. It is not exactly 4 feet tall, but it is quite a bit longer than 4 feet long. So my guess, maybe 6,000 pounds taken from a field and dropped at the edge of the field. Now, could they have moved a long time ago when that stone was in the middle of a field? Could they have moved a stone that big? Yes, they could. With the traction engine in the wintertime, they moved that Hatton Depot, across the field, or so I was told. Yes, they could. Did they bring that stone for a house for decoration like you see now? They were practical people. They were not buying 4,000-pound rocks to decorate the front of their house. But why would they take a stone out of a field, especially one that big? Well, it is obvious because it was in the way. You cannot lay tile through a 6-ton stone or a 6,000-pound stone. Stones were taken out of the field all of the time. These just happened to be extremely large stones in the way, dumped at the edge of the field. And then the Hatton Depot was brought many years later, I assume. Now, you say, well, I see bigger stones in landscaping all the time. That is quarried limestone, quarried from beneath the surface of the earth, shaped perhaps, brought by humans. It is not a field stone. Now, why is this my favorite rock? I have been looking at Wood County field stones on my many, many travels in the 22 years I've worked at the museum. And while there are field stones all over the place, is this the biggest field stone that was in Wood County? I don't know. If you have a larger field stone variety of granite, stone, unaltered, taken from a field, you let me know. That is the last slide that I have. I hope you enjoyed this program.